couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to someone and they were in their late 50s, and they were like, oh, well, it's too late now. I like being fit and healthy is just like too much work. I'd rather die fat and happy. And you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just like enjoy my food and it's like, in your late 50s and you've lost so much of your quality of your life already, and you basically, you're signaling to me like you're giving up. You were telling us before, one of your clients who's in their 60s, and I think it's just a great reference point of like timelines, because some, what we have been saying about like fat loss and muscle gain and how long some of this can take, but I do feel like most people are in this like right here, right now. But this lady was 3 years, was it?
3 years, yeah. She worked with me for 3 years, yeah.
And her starting point was?
So her starting point, the numbers might be, I think it was 125 kilo or 130 kilos. I think she started when she was working with me, and
that's how much she
weighed. Yeah, and at that point she was struggling to do more than maybe 3,000 steps a day. Struggled to be going up and down stairs, and it was actually her daughter heard me on a podcast actually and said, go talk to her, I think she might be able to help you, she swears a lot, so I think she'll get on. And so she was like, she put me in touch with her and we started working together. Yeah, well, it was a few years ago now, but when we first started working together. And so with her, a really big thing was making those first steps accessible, because a lot of movement was painful, and like both mentally and physically there was quite a few barriers with that. So we started off, because like she had quite a bit of pain with walking, we got her a stationary bike and just built up a bit of cardio and fitness through that, and then just some weights at home we started her off with, and just learning some of the basic movements such as of like squats and deadlifts and finding out what was pain-free and things. And so with that, it was starting off with actually reduced range of motion, not like I say, not the sexiest squats you've ever seen, but ones that were starting her off and building that initial like muscle mass. And yeah, it was a case of over 3 years. I know this is going to be a huge jump of where she was 3 years later. But she actually went off on her own, and she's still killing it on her own, which is my favourite thing, is that she's still doing that. I think she's now, when she left, she was around 90 kilos. And she was able to do 10,000 steps a day. She was in the gym, strength training, and she sent me a picture at a family party of she had just finished doing all the fence that I did the family party. She helped prep for it, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm just going to go and build their fence because it's for my daughter and grandkid." I was like, "Oh, I'll help out," and so was like gardening and like helping out and doing life stuff. And I think she's like one of my favourite clients, like stories that I've seen, because the amount of life she got back from that, like taking it slow but steady, and embracing being a beginner. Maybe when people go, "Oh, there's no point doing it after your 60s," like she saw so much progress, and say she not only probably has added more life, like years to her life, but we hope a lot better ones as well, because that quality, that quality of life there. She can go walking with her grandkids. She can do so much now, and she doesn't even think twice about going up and down the stairs. When she was working, she was like, I take the stairs up to my office every day now, whereas before she'll get the elevator and those sorts of things. And it's like, yeah, those changes, it's like they didn't happen overnight. They were very, very slow things. I think like the first win we had was like she could put her trousers on without needing to sit at the end of the bed, and like those sorts of things. Just like, oh, I'm getting balance, I'm getting coordination back, I'm starting to see some of that muscle mass I'm not having to like use the size of my chair to stand up anymore.
They become
like
real motivators.
They're like, you see those things happen, and it's just like that quality of life change is irreplaceable. And yeah, some of that was down to the fat loss, but a lot of it was down to the training as well. And like obviously the combination of the two was a completely transformative experience, which was it was freaking beautiful to witness for sure. Mad proud of her for that. But
yeah, well, I think just like managing expectations, because I hear like when you speak to people when you're out. Sometimes it's like a couple of weeks ago I was speaking to someone and they were in their late 50s, and they were like, oh well, it's too late now. I like being fit and healthy is just like too much work. I'd rather die fat and happy. And you know what I mean? Like I'd rather just like enjoy my food and it's like in your late 50s and you've lost so much of your quality of your life already, and you basically you're signaling to me like you're giving up. You know what I mean? Or like this is the path that you're going to continue to go down. And it's just like, what a shame. When you see someone like that who's in the 60s and 3 years later lost all this weight, transformed their body composition, living a healthy life and a quality life where they're able to just get all those little things back, and it makes such a difference. But just shows you like it is never too late to start as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important actually that you shared that, because a lot of people listening might be thinking, oh, this is interesting, but it doesn't really relate to my life. But when you put it in the context of like, it means she can go out and help her daughter build a fence, or like, you know, just life stuff that actually you wouldn't have been able to do or even entertain the idea of. That's what strength training gives you. And it's not about how you look in clothes, and it's not about having a certain body fat percentage or any of that stuff. It's about like your functional ability to enjoy your life. I think that gets lost in all the, like, we've talked quite technically today about like what exercises you should do, or, you know, what your program should look like. Actually, it's a program that is going to make your life more livable for you, is what all of us want our clients to have. There are ways that are better to do that than others, but actually that's what the end goal is.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of roads that lead to Rome as well. There's obviously roads that take you around the whole world and then get you there. But like, I think like you can get lost in the noise in social media of like doing the perfect way to do things, when there's lots of ways that work. So you mentioned things like training splits over the course of the week. There's lots of training splits that work. And sometimes it's about finding what works for you, what you can be consistent with, what you can see progression with, which is, I think, in all of our coaching, that's what we look at, is like keep it, like measuring that progress and keeping it consistent, not changing it for the sake of changing it. And I say that might look different to two people, but you can't find out those stuff that work without